If you're after an action camera but your life isn't as action-packed to warrant a $400 GoPro, you could opt for a cheaper version but forfeit some features, and if you fall into that category then this could be exactly what you're looking for, the HawkEye Firefly 8S. Time-lapse, dashcam, burst, slow motion, as well as standard photo and 4K video, even long exposure. Whatever your flavour, the Firefly 8S seemingly does it all. And it comes in a pretty well stocked package too, with an array of GoPro compatible mounts and accessories, providing the ability to attach the camera to objects or to your person. The clear plastic underwater housing helps make the camera waterproof, dustproof and shockproof, all pretty much standard nowadays. Of course there is a slight difference in placement of buttons, but it's still almost a direct clone of the GoPro Hero 4 housing, complete with a standard attachment point compatible with the GoPro mounting ecosystem, as well as the same top clasp found with the Hero 4 housings. When you take the camera out of its casing, the feeling of manufacturing quality is more prominent. The Firefly 8S is built well. No rough edges, no shoddy plastic. Very well done. There's a rubber layer around the top, side and bottom edges to make it easier to handle, while the front panel is a soft touch plastic. Sticking with the front alongside some branding and the standard power and mode button, we find a small selfie mirror alongside the camera's 170-degree lens. Backed by a Sony IMX177 CMOS sensor and an Ambarella A12S75 chipset, meaning full 4K video capture at 30 frames per second with no interpolation. Real 4K. You even receive a lens hood in the package, although I did find the fit rather loose. On the bottom we have a 1/4" 20 metal tripod thread, great for mounting flexibility, along with a sliding and spring-loaded battery door, containing a 1200 mAh battery, good for around an hour of 4K video capture, which is pretty standard among most action cameras, so nothing too surprising there. On the side we find the micro HDMI and mini USB ports, along with various holes just above as well as across the top of the unit, which I can only presume hide the built-in microphones for audio capture. Nevertheless, the back panel is where the micro SD card slot lives next to the screen and just above a playback button, which is a little different to the standard action camera layout I guess, but works equally as well. The 2-inch screen doesn't incorporate any touch sensitive gestures, although understandable considering the other features packed into the unit. Instead, you operate the camera with 4 buttons. One main button functions as your power, mode or exit on the front, while the top has the enter and record button, and the side arrow keys allow you to access and navigate settings. All carry a nice tactile click without being flimsy, all pretty well done. Upon powering up the camera, we immediately notice the status LEDs built into the mode and shutter buttons, as well as the text on the front of the unit, which is a pretty nice touch, making the unit feel more premium than it is. The button LEDs flash when capture is in progress, and the light up text changes colour depending on the currently active mode, be it photo or video, making it easy to tell at a glance. Nevertheless, the rear screen itself is rather bright and sharp, no problems with clarity at all thanks to the 640x480 resolution. Otherwise, it incorporates standard status information across the top and bottom, providing all the visual information you'd need while using the camera. Grasping the menu was easier than expected. It's not the fastest, but it's still very intuitive. The mode button cycles between video and photo shooting modes, while the right directional button enters the shortcuts and camera settings menus for the currently active mode. Video resolutions range from 720 through to 1080p at up to 120 frames per second, and right through to 4K at 30, which is not interpolated, so true 4K capture. We even have a gyro sensor, although this only works when capturing video at 1080p 30. It's a similar story with photo mode. All the basic settings are available along with some advanced level stuff like ISO and exposure setting. We even have long exposure shooting going up to 60 seconds, which we'll take a look at shortly. Otherwise we have some basic camera settings to tailor the unit for your uses. All in all, it's a pretty simple camera to pick up and use. So far, so good. Of course, enabling the camera's built-in wireless connectivity provides the ability to use the companion app, which is available on both iOS and Android platforms, and will receive a live feed of what the camera sees, albeit with a second or so of latency. Good for lining up shots, but maybe not so good for live capture. Anyways, with the app we can cycle between the shooting modes thanks to the sliding bar above the main capture button, keeping things nice and easy, as well as enter playback mode and switch between portrait and landscape modes. At the top we have all of our more advanced level settings such as ISO, exposure, sharpness and so on, all being quick and easy to access and tailor for your shooting scenario. Finally, we can change all camera settings quickly and easily. All settings available through the camera are available here and it all works pretty well. While using the app I had no disconnection issues, so it's rather reliable too, and thankfully, unlike other budget cameras, the camera unit is fully accessible while using the app. So even with the app connected and active, we still receive a live feed from the camera itself and are able to change settings and operate the camera as normal. It just synchronizes with the app pretty well. So other than the annoying lag, there's no issues with the wireless connectivity or with the app. It all works wonderfully well. When it comes to performance, for a camera that's this cheap, it's actually rather pleasant. Bear in mind what you see here is raw footage from the camera, no colour correction or editing whatsoever, although also note that the quality will have dropped slightly due to YouTube compression. But regardless, capture quality isn't too bad. Don't get me wrong, details certainly aren't the sharpest I've seen and colours aren't the most vivid, certainly getting a little mushy at distance, but the footage is generally smooth and has a nice wide angle field of view. Dynamic range isn't brilliant either though, with the camera sometimes being slow to adjust between different lighting conditions, while image stabilization is only available at 1080p 30, but even then, although it makes a slight difference, it's not groundbreakingly good anyway. Those after smooth slow-mo shots will find the 1080p at 120 option useful, but bear in mind you'll want plenty of good light for higher frame rate settings, and quality will suffer quite drastically, so with the added grain don't expect professional level shots, not by far. Image quality is also just like video. Details are maintained relatively well and you can produce decent images. But to be fair, you're probably better off using any modern smartphone, which will probably produce better shots. When it comes to low light, the Firefly is in the same boat as all other action cameras with such small sensors. The more light you can throw at it, the better, since the darker the subject, the more grain you'll see in the video. There's no difference here, which is expected, although the long exposure mode makes for some pretty creative shots and is a good mode to play around with. Finally, a quick note on audio quality, or lack of. The Firefly 8S captures enough to get a feel for the surroundings, but with plenty of background noise, so if audio is important to you, then you will certainly want an external solution. As it stands though, the Firefly 8S is a pretty decent action camera and can capture some pretty decent video footage. It's easy to use with that built-in screen along with a menu structure that's easy to navigate and makes changing settings a breeze. If remote operation is what you're after, the app is just as easy to use and well structured. Although you'd probably get better quality from most modern smartphones nowadays, the action camera can go to places your smartphone probably can't. And when it comes to budget level cameras, the Firefly 8S isn't at all too bad. It's actually quite good. As long as you're not looking for professional level quality with highly detailed vivid shots, but after something for social media and general use, the Firefly 8S is a pretty good place to start.